as we would hear him. Welcome to this evening's session. We are happy to have Geneviève Masson here with us, sports dietitian. And you know what? I hope everyone had a great day of training. I don't know what happened elsewhere in the province. I know around here, the rain held off for the most part. A couple spurts here and there. It wasn't the deluge maybe that we thought. So I know people were able to get some training around here. Hopefully everyone else did. We'll meet again tomorrow morning before we set out on our classic ski. But for now, most importantly, I'll let Geneviève take over. Thanks so much.
Great. Well, thank you, Matt, for the introduction and kind of sharing that. So I'm just going to share my slide. Hopefully you can all see it here. Okay, so today we are going to talk about nutrition. That's my favorite topic, but most specifically, we're going to talk about nutrition around training. And before I tell you about the specifics of what we're going to talk about, I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit more so you know who I am. So I grew up on the East Coast near Montreal, cross-country skiing, and I raced for a club that doesn't exist anymore near Montreal. It was called Ski Elite for those of you who might be curious. I then joined the Rougiard at Laval University in Quebec City, and I raced there in cross-country as well. And then I became a sports dietitian. So after my undergrad in nutrition, I became a registered dietitian and started to specialize in sports nutrition. I also did a master's degree and then the IOC sports nutrition diploma after that. And then I moved on the West Coast. I started a website called Gourmet Hiking. That's a website that includes recipes and blog posts on how to fuel your adventure. So a lot of like hiking and backpacking recipes, but a lot of those, especially the snacks recipes, can be used for cross-country ski snacks or even kind of summer snacks, summer training snacks, sorry. Okay, and then over 2 years ago, I joined Canadian Sports Institute Pacific. So I'm based in Whistler, and I work with a lot of different sports, including softball. So I was there when they qualified for the Olympics. Unfortunately for them, they're going to have to wait 1 more year for their dream to realize to go to the Olympics. I also work for Freestyle Canada. With biathlon, so some athletes from Biathlon Canada, and then our training center here in Whistler. So work with ski cross, wrestling, judo, and most importantly with cross country BC. With that said, we're gonna talk about what's the plan for our session today. So goals for our presentation is to learn how to fuel before training, how to fuel and stay hydrated during training, and then recover after training sessions. I want you to learn something new. So, during this presentation, if you have any questions on the topics, on what we talk about, the content, feel free to write down in the chat box, and then we are gonna try to answer the questions toward the end of the presentation. And if you feel like all of these things that we've talked about, you already knew and you already apply that in your training, then I want to challenge you to ask a new question so that you at least will learn one new thing today. Okay, so there's different aspects of sports nutrition, okay? So sports nutrition is a really wide field. And so we talk about and we cover a lot of different things, including supplements or nutrient status or something that we call energy availability that is relatively new. But this today, we're mostly going to cover in training nutrition. So how to fuel before, during, and after your training, recovery, right? That's the after component, and then hydration. But I just want you to know that there are a lot of other things out there. Okay, just a quick review. I think for most people that's going to be a review, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, we're just going to quickly see what the macros are. So the macronutrients include carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So let's start with carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is what we usually call our fuel. That's what provides energy. So it's the major fuel source for high intensity exercise. And there's a limited storage. We store carbohydrates in our muscles and in our liver, but there's just kind of a maximal amount that can be there. And so it's possible that you run out, especially if you're training for a long, long time. And that's why there's a need to top up your carbohydrates. So have some carbohydrates during long training sessions so that you don't run out. There's someone who is drawing on the screen. I'm not sure if, okay, it disappeared now. So please just don't draw on our shared screen. Okay, and then carbohydrates, there's different types of carbohydrates. There's the long-lasting and the quick energy carbohydrate sources. So when I say long-lasting, I want to talk about bread, pasta, rice, quinoa, oats. So a lot of grains products that are going to provide you carbohydrate for a long time. And then when we talk about quick energy carbohydrate sources, those are usually the kind of more sugary options. So those like sweet things. So it could be fruits have some quick energy carbohydrate options. So it's bananas, for example, are going to be digested and pretty quickly and provide you energy quickly. But that also includes some of the candies and sports drinks and stuff like that. Builders are proteins. So proteins are can also be called builders because they like to they contribute to muscle repair and growth. And then timing and distribution of protein throughout the day is actually really important. So having protein at all of your meals is actually going to help to adapt. Help your muscles to adapt and get stronger and more endurance with time. And then there's this other category that I like to call the immune category that includes macronutrients and fats. And so those nutrients help to maintain good health. And, just quick notes on that. You've probably heard that before, that fruits and vegetables of different colors help to provide different nutrients. So the more colors you have on your plate, the better it is because the more of different nutrients you get. And then another quick note that you may already have heard about before is that fat slows down digestion. So that means that when you eat something high in fat, it's going to take longer to digest and it's going to sit in your stomach for quite some time. So especially if you're going into a training, then that can impair your training. But we're going to cover that more in specifics in a minute. Okay, before I keep, talking, I want to hear from you. So why do you think it's important to pay attention to fueling before, during, and after your training session? So it's a good time to use the chat box now and to say, why do you think it's important for you to, pay attention to fueling before, during, and after your training sessions? Can you see the chat? I don't see the.
I can see it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have one answer so far. Come on, people, you can do better. So your body doesn't start breaking down for sure. Yeah, muscle. Energy for your muscles, recovery. Yeah, okay. Awesome. So keep those good answers going. What about it's important to pay attention to fueling before and during so that you have quality training sessions that you can pay attention to your technique instead of paying attention to the fact that you're hungry, for example. Yeah, someone said so you don't bunk for sure. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Definitely. So you don't feel starved after? Definitely. Okay, that's awesome. Be able to train harder and longer? Definitely. Awesome. Those are all good reasons. Okay, so let's look at the before or pre-training nutrition goals, right? Before training sessions, what are the goals or what are the things that we want to target? Well, we want to provide fuel or energy for the upcoming training or race, right? We want to prevent hunger. Some of you mentioned that. And we want to optimize hydration as well, making sure that you start your training well hydrated. And finally, we want to prevent gastrointestinal symptoms. So when I talk about gastrointestinal symptoms, I what I mean is, having stomach pain, cramps, nausea, or even some people might vomit, right? So those are not things that we want to have during training. We want to prevent those sort of symptoms. So then, what should we do, right? Like, what could be good pre-training snacks or meals? Well, I'm going to tell you the kind of general recommendations here. But what is the most important is that you learn what works for you and what doesn't. And that takes some time, that takes some practice. Um, so you're going to discover with time what are the best strategies for you pre-training or pre-exercise. So usually, a pre-training snack or meal should happen somewhere between 4 hours to 1 hour before your training. Okay, somewhere in that range. And so the amount of food that you can consume is going to depend on how much time you have available before your training or before your training. So if you have, um, you know, 3 4 hours, then we usually recommend kind of a full meal that's going to have some grains or some carbohydrates. So you can see on the top right corner, there's a plate there with salmon and rice and vegetables. So that would be kind of a balanced meal, right? So just kind of a normal, lunch or dinner. Um, then if you have a little bit less time, we would usually recommend some sort of a lighter meal. So it could be a sandwich, could be maybe a pasta salad or something like that. Um, and so the idea is that there's a little bit less food and it doesn't take as long to digest so that there's not a whole lot of food sitting in your stomach when you start your training. And then if let's say you only have a few minutes, like 30 minutes to eat something before going to your training, you may want to up for something even lighter than that. So a fruit or even some fruit juice. But I really want to stress how important it is for you to practice and to see what works for you and what doesn't. Because I've seen athletes who can eat a full meal, um, you know, an hour, 1 hour before going on a big training, and they don't have any issues. And so if they feel great, well, they don't need to change, what they're eating. Um, but yeah, usually that would be kind of um, the general recommendations. And so what are the foods or what are the nutrients that we should target? Well, we should try to have something high in carbohydrate because that's your main fuel source for your training. um, so that's why there's some bread in that sandwich, or if you have a bit less time, then having a fruit or a small yogurt. Those would be high carbohydrate snacks options. You want to have something moderate in protein. So it's not necessarily the time to have this really big steak right before training, right? Because it takes longer to digest. It's probably going to not be the most comfortable. Then you want to have some fluids in that hour. Well, could be, during that time before training, okay? So to top up your hydration. Then we usually say something low in fat, low in fiber, and the reason for that is just something easy to digest. But again, it's going to depend on the person, and it's also going to depend on the type of training. If you're going for a high intensity training, like intervals, for example, then you may want to pay even more attention to that and kind of like have your last meal. Give yourself more time to digest before you do your intervals, compared to, let's say, if you go on a easy roller ski sessions. So you're gonna have to adapt and get to learn what works for you and what doesn't. Okay, so feel free again if there's any questions. Feel free to type that in the chat box, and then we can cover the questions at the end. A little bit more here on what to eat before training. So I told you usually you should have some sort of carbohydrates in the last meal, in pretty much in all of your meals throughout the day. But if it's been greater than a few hours since your last meal, let's say your training is at 5 p.m. and the last time that you had a meal was at noon. Well, that would be like 5 hours without eating. That's quite a lot of time. So, if it's been quite a few hours since your last meal, then, you should have a small carbohydrate snack before, so about 30 to 60 minutes before your training, to kind of top up those carbohydrate stores. So that could be a banana, could be just one, like a toast with some jelly on it, or a small yogurt, something like that would help to kind of provide some fuel. Make sure you're not hungry during your training, but not feeling uncomfortable either. Okay, so that covered the nutrition before training. Now let's look at what we should eat, or what should we consume during training. So while we are training, there are two main things. So you want to cover energy, or provide energy. So carbohydrates that help to keep you a high level of energy during your training sessions, and hydration. So hydration includes fluids to stay hydrated, and then the electrolytes that helps to retain fluids in your body. I have a quick question. Anyone knows what are electrolytes? Like when we say electrolytes, like what does that mean? What are these nutrients? See, okay, let's give you 10 seconds for someone to try. Oh, salt. There you go. Yeah. So salt, or sodium, that's a main electrolyte. That's you lose quite a lot of salt when you sweat. Someone said potassium as well. Yeah, there you go. So sodium, potassium, magnesium are kind of main ones, and then there's calcium is kind of a minor electrolyte as well. But electrolytes have kind of a complex role, but we can kind of summarize that in the sense that they help to retain the fluids in your body. So they help to kind of keep the fluids in. And when you sweat, you lose quite a lot of salt as well. If you've ever tried to, tasted your sweat, that's pretty salty. Okay, during training, so we said there's energy, right? Carbohydrates and fluids / electrolytes. So, well, sports drink, they include all of those things, right? Because there's some, let's say Gatorade, there's some sugars, which is, a type of carbohydrate, and there's fluid because it's liquid, and there are some electrolytes, some sodium in there. So it can be a practical way of getting all of these nutrients, all of these aspects, but they're not essential. Like you can also get carbs from food and fluids from water, okay? So yes, they're an option. You can also make your own sports drink. So that would be, let's say if you have a water bottle like this, you would fill half of it with water, half of it with fruit juice, and then you can decide what fruit juice, right? It could be like cranberry juice, it could be orange juice, could be mango juice, whatever you like, okay? And then a little bit of salt on top, and then you just mix it, and it's your homemade sports drink. It's really quick to do, and you can make your own flavors. So that could be a good way of providing some fuel and fluids at the same time during training. But like I said, it's not essential. There are a lot of other options, okay? Um, so I created this infographics for a training camp that I did with the BC team last summer. So actually, those are some examples of snacks that provide about 20 grams of carbs. Why 20 grams? Well, I would say it's because it's kind of a minimum for athletes of your age when they train for long training sessions. So when they train for a long time. So if you go for training sessions that last longer than 60 to 90 minutes, then I would recommend that you pack at least 20 grams per hour. So, for example, if you go for a 2-hour roller ski session, then you would need kind of 2 bubbles, right, or 2 snacks for a total of 40 grams. Okay. And the idea is that you eat those snacks during your training session so that you don't actually actually wait until you're tired or hungry to eat those snacks. You want to eat that throughout your session so that you don't wait until you're super tired to eat it, because by that point you've lost some quality of training. Okay, so some of these examples, for example, 3 or 4 dates, that would be that would cover you for like 1 hour of training basically. And so if you go for 2 hours, then you would need double that amount. Or it could also be 3 little pieces of dry mangoes. Could also be a banana. Obviously, that depends on the type of training you're doing. It might be easier if you're biking to bring that. Might be a bit harder on different, when you're running, for example, that you may have a squished banana towards the end. But those little fruit bars, those could also be options. You can make your own energy balls, or a Cliff Bar. That's a pretty common snack. And so half a Cliff Bar would cover you for 1 hour. So then if you leave for 2 hours, that means you have to pack 1 Cliff Bar, and you can eat half of it in the first hour, another half in the second hour. Pretty easy. Okay, so if you have any questions again on these examples for fueling, please share those in the chat box. Let's move on to hydration during training. So during training, we lose water through sweat, but also through breathing. So when we breathe, we do lose some water there as well. And we want to maintain a good level of hydration during training for different reasons. First one is to prevent fatigue, because when we get hydrated, we feel more tired. Basically, keeping the same intensity or the same kind of pace would feel harder. So you want to try to keep up and stay well hydrated. Maintaining good level of hydration during training also helps to carry oxygen and nutrients to your working muscles. So that's pretty important, making sure your muscles have access to what they need to. Also helps to cool off your body, because when you're well hydrated, then your body has the capacity to sweat. And actually, sweat is a positive thing for your body, in the sense that that's how your body cools off. That's how your body is able to maintain a normal body temperature. If you're unable to sweat as much, then you you slowly overheat, and then again that would lead to fatigue. And it also helps to stay healthy. It's really good for health. And then extreme levels of hydration can lead to health concerns. So we're trying not to, go there. Okay, let's do a little activity time. We actually changed that. So I just want to test your knowledge on, factors that affect hydration. So how it's going to work, I have, this question. So what types of training or factors lead to greater hydration needs? So I have kind of, for each question, I have two factors or two types of session or two, different aspects. And so if it's the aspect on the left, or the one closest to this open hand, sorry, then you're gonna open your hand like that. Let's try to have your video open so that we can see you participating. If you think it's the aspect or the concept on the right, then you're gonna keep your hand closed. Okay, so open on the left and then close. Okay, so let's say if it's high intensity training, if you think high intensity leads to more hydration needs, then open your hand. If you think easy training leads to more needs for hydration, then close it. Okay, so we have kind of a mix for those of you that I can see. Okay, almost people are open their hand. Okay, yeah, so high intensity. So the higher the intensity of training that you do, the more kind of heat you're gonna generate, and the more sweating your body is gonna do to try to like eliminate that heat. So yeah, like if you do more high intensity training, then you're sweating more, then you're gonna need to pay more like hydration is more important. With that said, actually I have another factor before I answer that. So yeah, like it's also a question of duration. So let's say 3 hours training session versus 1 hour. Like which one is going to lead to greater need to drink? Let's go. 3 hours, open your hand. And then if you think 1 hour, then close your hand. Okay, everyone open. Yes, there you go. You knew that. So the longer you train, the more you need to drink. Okay, being female athlete versus a male athlete. Who needs to drink the most? Some of you don't show you your hand. Maybe you don't know or you don't want to try. Okay, so that's a tricky one, actually. There's no good answers here. Basically depends. There's individual differences. Okay, so it depends a little bit on your body size, but yeah, and if you have more muscles and so on. But there's also just a lot of genetics involved. Okay, so you probably know like who sweats more than others with the people you're training with, and so just trying to get to know yourself, and if you're those people who need to sweat more, then you need to drink more as well. Okay, if you train in 30 degrees Celsius versus 15. Okay, yeah. So 30 degree, you need to drink more. You sweat more, you need to drink more. Makes sense. Okay. What about if it's super humid? So very humid climate versus dry. When it's do you think humid needs to drink more, or is that when it's dry that needs to drink more? Okay, so it's kind of half and half. Let's say dry climate would be, I think the Okanagan, we can say it's pretty dry. Today in Whistler, that would be very humid. It's like raining. Like crazy. So it's actually in the humid climate because the sweat is less effective actually in that climate. So your body is gonna like try to get rid of all that heat, but it's not as effective. So actually, you need to drink more on in this situation. Okay, awesome, good job. So what does that mean in practice in terms of hydration? Well, you want to carry a water bottle with you during training and off training. That's a good way of just staying hydrated all day long. And fluids needs vary a lot from one person to another, and also based on weather conditions, like you saw, and on the type of training, obviously. Okay, and there's an easy test to see whether you're hydrated or not, and that's the toilet test. I'm sure some of you have heard of that before. So those are the different colors of urine that you may see in your when you go to the toilet, and basically you should try to target anywhere kind of in that 1 to 3 zone. So a light, pale, yellow urine. Okay, so we're actually also gonna do that a little bit differently here. So I know that many athletes struggle with hydrating properly. And what would be the strategies that you would suggest to athletes that have a hard time drinking enough, either during training or off training? So at this point, we're not gonna split you into groups, but I would like you to use the chat box and write down one strategy that you would recommend to a friend that maybe has a hard time drinking enough. So what could help? I know some people don't like plain water, so maybe you can suggest something else. Or some people don't think about drinking. So what could you suggest for these people? Or don't know, the chat box disappeared for whatever reason. You can see it, Matt? Are they?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you have good?
Oh, we've got
Can
some
you
great.
see good answers there?
I'll read them out here. Adding flavor to your water.
I
I'll leave
like lemon, Ernie, fresh herbs like mint or basil. That works well too.
some other really good ones. Always carry a water bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Hydration log from Lucas.
Okay, yeah. So like maybe writing down when you drink. Okay.
Yeah. Wear a camelback with mouthpiece close to the mouth. Flavoring the water again. Camelback. Small amounts more often. Set a time, for example, every 15 minutes and drink then.
Okay.
Water bottle all the time. Every 2 minutes, drink some water. Designate water break every amount of time. When you wake up, drink a full glass of water every morning. A goal to drink a full water bottle a day. Flavored, carry a water bottle holder. Set a distance to drink during a workout. Drink lots of water. When you're hungry, drink water. Ooh, energy drink tastes better. Adding flavors. We've got so many good ideas here.
Wow, good job.
Put lines on your bottle and aim to drink that amount by a certain time. Good one. Bring water everywhere. Flavor, warmer water for really cold days. Flavor.
Cool. Okay.
That stuff in your water that helps you absorb it.
Yeah. Another thing, so a lot of you mentioned like, stop at regular intervals and so on. I think that works well if you're kind of training on your own or with, a few friends. If when training with coaches resume, so when we're back at kind of training in a group, sometimes the coaches like to stop you and show you some technique and so on, and while everyone is kind of getting set up, like that could also be a good time to just take a sip of water, if you're carrying the water on you. So that could be another good timing there. Okay, awesome. Good job. So let's move on here to recovery from training. So what are the main components of a recovery snacks or meals, and what are the roles of those different components? So why is that important? So I would say there's kind of five main components that I usually recommend in a recovery snack or a recovery meal. So carbs, again, right? We've talked about carbs this whole presentation because that's what provides you fuel. After a training, your carbohydrate stores were a bit depleted, so a bit lower than when you started. So you want to get some carbs after training so that your um, stores starts, you start to replenish your stores, and so you're ready for the next training. You want to have some protein because that's going to help you to restore muscle damage, help to make your muscles stronger, but also help your muscles to adapt so that they can do the training better next time. Fluids. So we've just talked about hydration. Yes, drinking during training is awesome, but if it's especially in conditions when it's super hot, or if you're not able to stop that often, like you're really likely that you're still gonna be dehydrated at the end. Okay, so you want to have plenty of fluids after to rehydrate. Having some electrolytes in your recovery snack or meal is going to help you retain those fluids in as well. And then um, antioxidant, we haven't really talked about that today, but these are components or kind of little molecules that's going to help your body come back to its normal state quickly. So kind of helps with that recovery, reduce inflammation, and so on. You can find antioxidant in a lot of food. I would say berries, um, fruit or vegetables, in general, are going to be high in antioxidant. Cocoa powder is also a good source, just so you know. And so having some antioxidant in there is going to help your body recover faster. And the main goal is really for you to be ready for the next exercise or the next training. And so, how quickly after training do you have to eat a recovery snack or meal? Like, is it like 30 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 1 hour or 2 hours? Well, I would say as fast as possible, okay? Especially if the next exercise or the next training is within the next 24 hours. So if you're training the next day, or if you have another training session, like let's say you're training in the morning and you have another one in the afternoon, then that's really key to have a recovery snack or meal. So that means, if you are right now, you're probably starting your training pretty close from home, right? Like maybe you start running from your home, or you don't have to walk, or you don't have to drive or go somewhere too far. So you may be able to come back from training, and if lunch or dinner is already ready at home, then that would be a good recovery meal. Like you don't necessarily need to have a snack and then eat a meal right after, right? Because you don't want to reduce your appetite for that meal. But if you come back from your training and your parents are like, oh, we're going to eat dinner in 2 hours, then okay, 2 hours, that's quite a lot of time. You definitely have some time to have a recovery snack there. And so I would encourage you to have a recovery snack if you don't expect to eat a meal within an hour or something like that. So what are good examples of recovery snacks? You have chocolate milk. That is kind of a famous one. It kind of includes everything. There's protein, there's carbohydrates, it's liquid, and there's electrolytes naturally in there. So kind of covers a lot of the components. But some Greek yogurt or regular yogurt with granola, that would be another good one. The Vector Energy bars, so these are pretty high in protein, so that will make a good one. But don't forget to add some liquids to it. Some cashew cereals with milk, and you can add some berries to it. That would be a good one. Or a small sandwich, could be half a sandwich or a full one if you're more hungry. And then again, with this one, you would have to add some liquid to it. You could also make a fruit smoothie with any frozen fruit that you may have at home. You can put some milk in there, some yogurt. That would be a really good one. Okay, right now we're gonna test your knowledge on recovery. So if you have access to another electronic device, so if you have a phone, if you have a tablet or another computer next to you, great. If you don't, let's say if you have just a computer, then you can just kind of open an internet browser window and try to have like the Zoom window on one side and then the internet browser on the other side. I think it would work also on a tablet. It might be a bit harder to do on a phone though. But I'm not sure actually on a tablet. But anyway, worst case, you're just gonna go flip back and forth between kind of the Zoom and the internet browser window. Okay, so I'm just gonna just gonna go to Mentimeter here. Okay, and so you go in the, you open an internet browser window and you type in menti.com. So that's menti.com. And then you use the code. The code is here on my screen, but it's 19, so 192153. So 192153. So I'm just gonna wait until most people are able to connect. Right now we have 21 who connected. So yeah, just open an internet browser window, type in menti.com, so menti.com, and then it's gonna ask you for a code, and the code is 192153. Okay, we have 39 who are connected, so we're just gonna wait give a few more seconds because I know there are more participants than that. So it's gonna be a game. Well, first I'm gonna ask you a question that is not associated with any points, and then we're gonna have a quiz or a competition. I don't have a prize, although maybe Matt has something. But what I would offer has a big prize is like there's 68 people on the call right now, so all these people are gonna know you're the winner. I think that's really big. So that's definitely a really nice perk there. So we have 53 who are on the call, I think. So okay, let's get started. You can always kind of join us. So again, menti.com, and then you use the code 192153. What's wrong? Okay. Okay, so how often do you eat a recovery snack after your training? So be honest here, okay? Is it after every training session? Is it after almost every training session? Is it when I'm hungry sometimes, or sometimes when I think about it? Okay, cool. So it looks like most people are doing it almost after every training session. So that's awesome. Good job. Let's try to make it always. Let's try to remember to do it after every training session, or if but like I said, if there's a meal ready to eat, then the meal can be the recovery snack. Okay, awesome. So now the quiz starts. That's okay. So we have 57 participants. If you do insert your quickly, like the quicker you answer, the more points you're gonna have. Okay, but obviously you need to have the right answers. Okay, let's start. the quiz. What components of the recovery snack is or are missing in a Cliff Bar? So what are the things that are missing there? Yes, fluids. So yeah, there's no fluids, it's dry, right? So you would need some water with that. There's around 10 grams of protein per Cliff Bar, so that would kind of meet the minimal amount. But yeah, okay, awesome. Next question. Okay, let's just see who's leading so far after one question. Just to get you a bit more, even more motivated here. Okay, so Anika, good job. Awesome, you're the fastest so far. Okay, let's move on to our second question. What components of the recovery snack is missing if you eat a Nutri-Grain bar as a recovery snack? Yeah, so there were a lot of good answers there. There's, no fluids for sure, right? It's dry. There's also very little protein in that bar. So what I would say is if you wanted to have that bar has a recovery snack, that maybe you can have a glass of milk with it, and that would provide you with some protein and some fluids at the same time, so that would make it more complete. And then electrolytes as well are low, because there's a little bit of electrolytes in milk, then that could cover that. Okay, let's go to our next question. Chocolate milk. Yeah, well, most of you got it. So, yeah, there's pretty much everything in chocolate milk. Okay, there's electrolyte. There are electrolytes naturally in there. Obviously, kind of the fifth component that we talked about, antioxidant, is not super high in chocolate milk. You could always have like strawberries or cherries or whatever berries on the side, and that would be like the like an awesome recovery snack. Okay. Okay, if you have like a yogurt parfait with granola and then there's some fruits in there. And then it's also in a mason jar, so that you can carry it with you or make it ahead of time and then bring it with you. Fluids, yeah, there you go. Good job. Okay, let's see who's leading right now. I know there's one more question. Okay, so Joe, you know, is now leading, but very close to Conel. Is that how we pronounce? I didn't butcher your name. So really close. Okay, so let's see with the last question, who's gonna win? What is the most important aspects of recovery nutrition? We have recovery snacks available when needed. We have the perfect nutrition composition of the recovery snack, or having enough recovery snack with you so to give some to the coaches when obviously normal training resumes. Good try on the ones who wants to be generous with the coaches. That's really nice of you. Unfortunately, it's not the correct answer. The correct answer here was having the recovery snack available when you need it. Okay, so yes, having the perfect recovery snack is great, but if you don't have it with you when you need it, then it's not really effective, obviously. So
Maybe you can just look in the results and get the names of those 5 people there, and we can get those guys a prize too.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. So leaderboard, who's the winner here? Kira. Good job. Wow, what a really like the finish was a lot of changes in who was leading. So awesome. Well, good job. Good job to everyone who participated, and I'm sure give it your best. So well, congratulations. Like I said, 67 people are watching right now. So I think that's really uh good prize in there. Okay, let's come back to our PowerPoint presentation so you can leave, you can close the Minty .com window here. Okay, so there are some, other resources if you do want to have, recipe ideas for snacks or just learn more about sports nutrition. There's our website at Canadian Sports Institute Pacific, and we have a sports nutrition section with some recipes there. Team USA has a lot of snack ideas and recipe ideas, and then Australian Institute of Sports have awesome fact sheets, resources, and recipes as well. And finally, Gourmet Hiking, that's the website that I created. In the snack section, there's quite a lot of like energy balls and bars that you can make at home, and then bring on your training sessions. Okay, so what would you remember from today's session? Like if there's one kind of take home message or one thing that you can remember and do in your training, what would that be? So if you want to kind of think about it for a few seconds and then type that in the chat box, in the chat, that would be cool, so that I can know a little bit, what are things that you've learn. I do want to find the chat. I don't know what's going on. Why do I don't see it? Here it is. Okay, yeah. So a lot of you said how to, eat more in training. Some recovery snack ideas. So yeah, like bringing a snack with you and actually eating it during training session, especially those long sessions, right? If you go longer than like an hour and a half, like that's when you need a snack. Usually if you had a good meal or good snack before, and if it's a short training session, then you don't need it. But okay, yeah, fruit snacks. I like it. So it looks like a lot of you've learned at least a good one takeaway here. Awesome. Good job. So now, if there are any questions on, what we've talked about, or, if you had other nutrition questions, I'm here too. You can go ahead. I don't know if and if you ask a question earlier on, then please post it again, because we might have lost it. There's so many comments, good comments there. So yeah, fruit juice and water, and half fruit juice, half water, and then salt is actually really good sports drink. So that would be a good way of hydrating and getting some fueling during training. Okay, I know I already went over our time. What do you recommend if you train before breakfast? Oh, yeah, that's a good question there. Um, well, it depends how long you train before breakfast. So if it's like under 30, 45 minutes, you can probably go just, you can drink some water or um, and just go, like you're gonna have enough energy stores. If it's longer than that, then if you go for an hour 30 minutes, then I would definitely consider that you try to at least have a good snack before. So that could be like a small yogurt and a banana, for example, or it could be a fruit smoothie, and if that still doesn't work, if you feel like that's too much food, then and your stomach has a hard time, then you can just have a fruit juice or something like that. And then the worst case is like if you, let's say, you really don't have time to eat anything, which should not happen that often. Okay, you should try to plan your schedule so that you have time to eat before. But let's say if you didn't have time at all, then the kind of backup can be to bring snacks with you and eat more during the training. But like I said, like it would be better if you could eat at least a little snack before, if you train for longer than 45, 60 minutes. Under that, it should be fine without. Is oatmeal a good recovery snack? Well, that would be, it depends how you cook your oatmeal. If you make it with milk or soy milk, or you add quite a lot of yogurt to it, then that would be decent protein, and then the oats gonna provide some carbs. Yeah, I would say it's a good one. You may want to just add a drink on the side. Could be water, could be something else. Should you eat protein at every meal every day? Yes, you should try to eat protein at every meal and every day. Protein can come from different foods, though. It doesn't need to be meat or chicken. It can be plant-based as well. It could be tofu, beans, lentils, nuts. You can also or peanuts. It could also be fish or dairy products or eggs. So it doesn't need to be like meat per se, but yes, having protein throughout the day is going to help to maintain and build muscle mass, and also stay healthy. There's a lot of functions that protein help with. And then, yes, we will email the presentation and the PowerPoint to everyone after the meeting. So you can try again. Unfortunately, I don't think you would be able to do Mentimeter again to try to be even faster this time, but you can always watch the recording. Okay, well, looks like we don't have any new questions. I don't know if I missed any.
I don't think we missed any.
Good. Awesome.
And yes, we'll email all the presentations out to everybody. We'll have one email for everything once they're all done. So
at the end of the camp.
Okay. Yeah, including tomorrow as well.
Perfect. Well,
thank you so much, Genevieve.
Well, you're welcome. Have a good day tomorrow of training. I hope you said classic roller skiing tomorrow. Is that the
classic roller skiing? Yes.
Well, enjoy. Fingers crossed that it's not raining. And even if it's rains, then makes you stronger. That's what it does. Okay. Well, have a good evening, everyone, and yeah. Thank you for attending.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.